What's going on, guys? Mike from Canadian Cards. Just gonna do another something different. Some of you that are into hockey, um, uh, I'm just gonna do the odd segment here and there. Like I said, I was at a card show recently, and um got a bit of the hockey bug back. I wouldn't say fully, but it is part of my childhood, and collecting different things with my dad and stuff like that. So I'm going to tell you about beehives. Oh, incidentally, decided to change things up. I used to have this black kind of drape over a couple of boxes as my backdrop, and just changing it up. Some old magazines. This right here is actually, uh, for those of you that know the history of hockey, the Montreal Canadiens final game at the old Montreal Forum. It was like the closing of Yankee Stadium, yeah, up north. But this is a program numbered. I think they made 25,000. It's numbered 20,488. I actually, back in my days, one of my older videos shows what I did. I had a part-time gig as a hockey statistician for ESPN, the Versus Network, um, back in the day, and got to do a lot of hockey games, and I actually worked this game. Um, Saved my final media pass. It's not in the table. It's actually in a frame with the final score sheet. So, yeah, I'm going to do something different. And I'm going to tell you about a product. And some of you guys may know that if you collect hockey, and they're called Beehives. Now, Beehives were they were about 5.5 by 8 inch colored mats, mostly beige with a black and white postcard on it. So I'm going to show you one for an example. So that is an old beehive photo. These were produced by a company in Port Credit, Ontario, that's near Toronto, called the St. Lawrence Starch Company. And unlike our youth of opening packs, you never know what you're going to get. This one's got some water staining in that's in rough shape. But you never knew what you were going to get in hockey packs. But with beehives, all you had to do was send like a postcard to the company and proof of purchase. And they made, you can look it up. I know as a kid when, my mom made pancakes or waffles or whatever, beehive corn syrup was like one of the traditional syrups to have on your table before, Aunt Jemima and Mrs. Butterworth's and whatever came along. Back in my day, that's what it was, beehive corn syrup. And anyways, you just send away proof of purchase and you request your favorite player, and they would send you one of these. Now, oddly enough, key guys, Gordie Howe, Maurice Richard, Jean Beliveau, Ted Lindsay. I'm trying to think of some Leafs, um, you know, Turk Broda, all kinds of them. They were the most popular guys. And so everyone wanted those. So believe it or not, it's the uncommon guys that are actually worth the most, because they were, hardly anybody requested them. I know there's one player that played for the Montreal Canadiens back in the day. His name is escaping me right now. I want to say, for some reason, it's like Hazen McAndrew or something like that. Or maybe he played for the Leafs. I can't remember. But like he only played a very short career. Like he played like 30 or 40 games. So, outside of his family members, probably not too many people requested it. So, anyways, they came in 3 groups. This group with the beige border is from 1944 to 1963, I believe. And then the group 1 were pre-1944, and they had usually a colored matted paper on the back, and usually blue or red. And then the 1965 to 67 had like a pseudo wood grain panel. I don't have any of those. I have the group 2s. So I'm just, I'm going to go through them. I was going through some stuff, and I thought it would be neat to kind of, go through a little bit of history. So this is Jean-Claude Tremblay, also known as J.C. Tremblay, played in the WHA for many years. Albert Langlois, and again, if you're not a hockey guy, you won't recognize a lot of these names because these are some of the more uncommon stars. Lou Fontinato. This one has a tape mark on it. I think I picked this up at a show years ago. Don Marshall. If any of you in the New York area know, this guy played a bit of his time for the New York Rangers, I believe. A lot of these guys, too, you'll notice they're all French. Marcel Boivin. The old hockey system was, there was, once you signed someone, it was before the free agent days, obviously, same as baseball. You were in their system for life, and the Montreal Canadiens dominated the province of Quebec and all the stars. So that's why a lot of the players back in the day, they're French Canadians, and it's still to this day. I do make at least one weekend trip to Montreal with my wife. It's a great city, and we go check out a hockey game. I think next year we're going near the end of the season, in 2020, at the end of the 1920 season. We're going to go see with another couple. Someone has a line on Toronto Maple Leafs at the Montreal Canadiens. So that's huge rivalry in hockey. Probably the biggest rivalry in hockey. Ralph Backstrom, one of the Anglophones with the Montreal Canadiens. This guy, it's a great story about him. This guy is Dickie Moore. He's a Hall of Famer. And he actually, if you drive through Toronto and you go through any construction site, you'll see at construction site, these companies, they rent trailers for their on-site offices and that. And this guy, Dickie Moore, has a construction company, ironically enough, called Dickie Moore Construction. And it's a rental place, and he rents out these pseudo offices. So every time I'm in Toronto, and I always go by, this guy, his name is plastered all over these pop-up offices at construction sites. So did well for himself. I'm not even sure, to be quite honest, if he's still alive. That's a tough one. Unsure. Next, another guy who went on to the Rangers. I think he also played for the St. Louis Blues in the old expansion days. Phil Goyette. Claude Provost. Claude Provost played many years in the Habs system. I do believe I think he played his whole career there. I just love these because these are like period pieces. And, there's markings down here. You can see that there's markings on this beige border and stuff, and that's okay. I quite like them. So get through this quick. It's already been enough for you guys, and I know you're all baseball fans and you don't want to know about the stupid game of hockey, but it gives me another reason to make a video. Jean-Guy Talbot, Gilles Tremblay, pardon my French accent, I'm trying my best in my Bell Center announcer's voice, Alain McDonald. Here's a couple of Anglos. Tom Johnson, not to be confused with Bob Johnson, but this guy went on to coach many years as well. And finally, Mr. Bob Turner. So that's the collection of Beehives. I know years later, Upper Deck put out a series of like reprints. So I don't know, years ago I picked these up. Boom Boom Jeffrey Saku Koivu. These are just reprints. Guy Lafleur, prior to the flow of the hair, he wore a helmet when he came out of Quebec Junior for the Quebec Ramparts, and I think he wore it for the first couple of years. So that's actually a reprint of a photo from probably like 72 or something like that. And then finally, Jose Theodore. So that's it, guys. That's what I got for you today. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever you got to do. Hate on my hockey. But for whatever reason, I'm going to start throwing the odd video back up. Okay, take care. Have a great day.